Hi, folks. I'm Kristine Hurst-Wajszczuk, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Wellness Wednesdays. Last week, we talked about pain and suffering, and today we're going to follow up with grasping and aversion. Last week, we actually addressed aversion by discussing suffering. We try to turn away from the things that we don't want or resist things that are painful. That is aversion. We might also describe it as focusing on what we have that we don't want, whether it's an uncomfortable situation or a bodily pain or a toxic relationship. So grasping is the opposite. It's focusing on what we want that we don't already have. For example, that perfect job, the ideal relationship, the fancy house in the prestigious neighborhood. So you may ask, as type A folks that you probably are, what's wrong with that? Why wouldn't I want to push away undesirable things or emotions or experiences and reach for the desirable ones? Well, there isn't anything inherently wrong with grasping or aversion. In fact, focusing on them now and then is very much a part of the human experience. But what I would like to offer to you, though, is that being overly focused on either one takes us away from the present moment. And when we can focus on being truly present, we might be less troubled. So our society conditions us to believe that we must always be reaching for the next thing in order to be happy. If I only have this, or I only attain that, or I am finally with this person, I will finally be content. Instead, what we find is that being constantly focused on what we wish we didn't have or what we want that we currently don't have simply results in being chronically dissatisfied. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're more likely to get what we want. And I'll give you an example of that. George Mumford, who coaches big-time athletes, tells them never to focus on winning. If they do so, they tend to be more likely to lose. So he actually instructs them to focus on the process, the correct process, and then therefore they are more likely to win. So actually, being present gets us the big win in the end after all. So we're going to work with this a bit with our meditation today. So I invite you to get comfortable in your seat or on the floor, whatever works for you. And I'll start us off with our bell. So settle into your chair or on the floor, whatever position you choose. I do recommend that you have both feet on the surface below you. And allow your attention to focus on the object of your attention, what we can call our anchor. And that is our breath. You are welcome to focus on the sensations of the breath, whether you notice them at your nose or mouth, whether you notice sensations of movement in your chest or back or belly. And if that is difficult for you today, I invite you to choose another anchor, whether it is words such as inhale and exhale, corresponding with your breath, whether it is counting your breath, counting each inhalation or exhalation up to the number 10, and then counting back down to 0. And remembering that if you lose count, all you need to do is start over. However you wish to anchor your attention is your choice today. Remembering there's no right or wrong choice, there's just what works for you in this moment. And as you settle into allowing your attention to rest wherever it has, I invite you to be open to any thoughts of grasping or aversion that might arise. It might be desires around a new job, or frustrations with your current job. It might be discomfort with your current living situation, perhaps being quarantined, for example. It might be wishes to return to whatever your semblance of normal is. Allow those thoughts to arise as they will, without judgment. As each one arises, welcome each thought with gentle acknowledgement. And if you wish, you're welcome to label each thought as either grasping or aversion. Allowing yourself to have just a little more distance from each thought or concern or desire. And as you label each of these thoughts, and remember our labels must be very gentle and very kind. There's nothing wrong with having these thoughts. As you label each of these thoughts, gently release them. Allow them their existence, but release them. And then return your attention to your anchor. Where is your mind now? Can you be gentle and accepting with each thought that arises before returning your attention to the breath. If your mind wanders, if it engages in grasping and aversion, know that that is normal. Acknowledge it, give it grace, and then return your attention to the breath. Take a moment to take one deep breath, long inhalation, and a slow exhalation. And take one more. And one last breath. And I invite you in a few moments when you hear the bell to be very gentle with yourself when you open your eyes.